Hi guys, my name is David and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be reviewing something a little bit unusual, something very unique, and something more importantly that was sent to me by a author. And that was a novel called Dead Boy's Game and the Broken Vow by A.David Singh, or David as I'm going to be calling him throughout this video. It was so great to get this novel from David and to actually hear from him. I'm not entirely sure where he messaged me, whether it was on my email or on Goodreads. Pretty sure it was on Goodreads, but I could be wrong about that. But he reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to read his book, and I said, yeah, sure. I'll actually give it a go, but I'll give it an honest review, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So this novel is a historical fiction novel with a fantasy twist. I have never read anything historical before, or any historical books, whether it's set in real life or in the fictional world. So this was kind of dipping my toes into that genre to see what I actually thought. My feelings about this book were extremely mixed. I was about 75% through it because I read it on my Kindle, and all the characters' names in it, they kind of eluded me. I kind of forgot who was who and what, and who was called what, and who was related to who, and all that type of stuff. But strangely, I actually remembered all of the events that happened in the book. I just couldn't remember any of the characters. So I had to go back to page one and start again, but this time I made some notes. This book was kind of a struggle for me to read. I am going to be honest in this, guys. This book was a struggle for me to read, and yes, at times it was. I don't really want to say boring, but that's probably the best word I can describe parts of this book. To be more specific about that, I found the political sections of this book to be very boring for me because I am not really a political person. I don't follow politics. It doesn't interest me. But if that's your jam, then that's fine. But for me, it just slowed down the story. And because I have never read any historical fiction before, because it never really interested me, I don't know, that seems to be a bit of a weird thing to actually experience because I'm not drawn to that genre. But I suppose that if you are interested in historical fiction or history or the Roman Empire or politics, then I think that you will appreciate this book more than I did. But I still enjoyed it. It was still a really interesting book with some really interesting characters and some very interesting scenarios, which I'll go through in a minute. And because this is book one in a series that David is going to be doing, there is going to be a second book on the way. I am intrigued to read it. I'm not in a massive rush to read it, but I am interested to pick it up to see what happens next and where he takes this story and where this world actually goes. So before I go any further, let's just go straight over to A.David Singh now, where he will be discussing his book in more detail than I possibly can and talking about himself as a writer.
Hi, folks. My name is A. David Singh. I'm the author of Dead Boy's Game and The Broken Vow. Many thanks to David for inviting me to say a few words about my debut novel. I'm thrilled to get this opportunity to speak with you today. Dead Boy's Game and The Broken Vow is the first book of Magical Rome universe. The story begins late at night in magical Rome, where we meet an elderly druid plunging two boys into a cauldron bubbling with a mysterious potion. One boy is alive, the other dead. Instantly, a spectacular magic begins inside the cauldron, diffusion of life from the living boy to the dead. 37 years pass, and the two boys who had tasted the druid's magic potion grow into patriotic men, secure that their great city will outlive time itself. But when the ancient powers commanding their childhood adventure spew chaos and carnage upon their beloved Rome, our heroes' lives intertwine once again? Will the two men defend the city of their birth or hurl Rome into an abyss? 37 years after a feat of impossible magic, a deadly game begins in magical Rome. As you might have guessed by now, Dead Boy's Game and the Broken Vow is a historical fantasy set in ancient Rome. In the story, we meet three main characters who come from very different walks of life. They don't know one another, but they share a common goal. All three want to become senators of Rome. Villius is an apprentice to a senator. He is an enterprising man and a brilliant scholar, always feeding his senator with solutions to important problems, in the hope that the senator will reward him in the manner he craves. When Villius nears the threshold of senatorship, a corrupt man foils his plans and shatters his lifelong dream. That's when the magical forces that are creeping into Rome tempt Villius along a new and dangerous path. Calpurnia is a young patrician woman with an audacious goal. She wants to become the first woman senator of Rome. Now, here's the rub: magical Rome is a civilization run by men, and women are mere assets used by men to fulfill their political goals. So, a woman becoming a senator is not just impossible, it is absurd. As Calpurnia wrestles with her dilemma, she is abducted by bandits and held for ransom. While imprisoned, Calpurnia starts seeing parallels between her current captivity by the bandits and her long standing captivity by the Roman society. Here's a quote by Calpurnia: "They are but shackles, one of body, the other of mind. I will break one and tear down the other." I believe it is her courage to challenge unfair life circumstances that makes Calpurnia emerge as a strong character in the story, and also as someone whom modern readers can relate to. Another interesting character whom we meet is Julius. He is a victorious centurion of Rome. In the beginning of the story, Julius is about to leave his legion. Even though he is a war hero and dedicated to Rome, Julius is willing to sacrifice his outstanding army career because he wants to secure a rich and powerful husband for his motherless daughter. Given the rigid structure of high society Rome, the only way Julius can give his daughter this bright future is by becoming a senator. But the dark forces lurking in the shadows test Julius, forcing him to choose between his love for Rome and his love for his only child. If you like reading about magic and adventure, political intrigue and maneuverings weaved into the lives of historical people and culture, you will enjoy reading Dead Boy's Game and The Broken Vow. At its core, the story explores themes of relentless ambition, class and gender inequality, and patriotism toward one's homeland. Although this book was published in 2020, it has a long standing history dating back to 2002. At that time, the story was meant to be pure historical fiction. Over the next decade, I tried many times to publish the novel, but stopped myself each time because I felt something was missing. So the story languished in the depths of my computer. Fast forward 14 years. In 2016, while on a long evening drive, my wife told me that she could see the story shine if I rewrote it as a historical fantasy. Her remark really inspired me because I finally found what was missing from the story. That was magic. The next few years were challenging. The entire story was torn down and rebuilt on a new foundation. Magic formed the soul of the story. magic wreaked havoc in the lives of characters, and magic acted as a force that could be both good and evil. This transition from historical fiction to historical fantasy was a major turning point in the life cycle of the Magical Rome universe. Magical Rome universe has many books in the series. I estimate at least 12. After that, fans and readers like you will help me decide if I should write more books in this universe. As of January 2022, the second book is being written and will be ready for you to read later in the year. Thank you very much for joining me today. When you finish watching David's video, I invite you to enter Magical Rome universe, where a strange cauldron bubbles with magic waiting for you. Please visit magicalrome.com. On this website, take the fun quiz and find out which Magical Rome character you are like. And if you pick up a copy of Dead Boy's Game and the Broken Vow, I will welcome you inside the Magical Rome universe through the adventures of Villius, Calpurnia, Julius, and their friends and foes. Once again, David, thank you for reading Dead Boy's Game and the Broken Vow and analyzing it for your viewers. I am waiting eagerly to hear your thoughts about the story.
Thanks for that, David. And I will also have a bunch of contact information down below in the description. So if you want to contact him, please feel free. He's a really nice and friendly guy. I will also have a bunch more stuff down there. It will have a link to the website of the book. It will have a link to a test, like an online test, where you can answer a series of questions and it will tell you what character you are within the book. And yes, I took the test. And I will also have a link down below to a kind of a behind the scenes magazine, which I've also read, which is really interesting. It really is. So this book is set in a historical fiction fantasy version of Rome. But this is a more parallel version which has magic in it. In this city of Rome, they are extremely proud and strong. And all of the men kind of rule this city with an iron fist, and all of the females are kind of under the control and guardianship of men. Women in this world don't really have much control or say with anything. They have to, I would say, obey their male counterparts, but they have to do whatever their male relatives or companions tell them to actually do. This is mentioned several times in the book, but it's never really done in a really discriminatory or sexist way. So at the start of the book, we find there is this kind of sorcerer type of character that is conducting a experiment, and he gets this father who is a soldier within this city. And these soldiers are called legionaries. Now this man brings his infant son to see this sorcerer to primarily get the evil out of his heart and soul. Not sure how he can be evil if he's a little boy, but he does this experiment by having this massive cauldron, and he gets this other boy who's presumed dead, and he picks them both up by the ankles and dips them into the cauldron head first until they're partially submerged in this liquid. And then the idea is that all the evil that goes from one boy goes into the other, and because this boy is supposedly dead, then there's actually no harm done. But is this boy dead or is he not? We discover the truth behind these two individuals, and this opening was kind of strange as it didn't really affect the overall story, in my opinion, but it was a nice way to actually grab your attention and draw you in. As I said, these legionaries that protect Rome are protecting it from a group of barbaric individuals called the Ghouls. Now, hopefully I've actually said that right. Now, the Ghouls are barbarians, as I said, and they are always fighting with the legionaries and vice versa. And the legionaries are very, very proud. They're very strategic in their battle fighting styles. It kind of reminded me a lot about a Brandon Sanderson book with the Way of Kings, with the soldiers within that world and how they kind of work as a team. Also, we find that there's this individual called Villius, who is kind of our main character, well, sort of anyway. Villius, we discover him, we follow him throughout his life, where he was a child and how he was bullied by his size and because he was a little bit unusual, I suppose. And because of the bullying, it resulted in him learning the layout of the city, learning its hidden paths, learning its construction, learning how it was built and the layout of the city. And he also wants to become a senator. Now that's a big part of this. All these characters, they all want to be this senator of Rome and to have respect. I would actually like it to see it followed through, like if it's really what they expected the job to actually be, or if it's lonely at the top, or if how many people are going to stab you in the back. There's all these laws governed, as I said, because women are governed by their male counterparts. And one day a woman gets, I think it's a divorce or her husband dies, and there are no male relatives or companions to rule over her, basically. And there's a very big political scene where they have to try to discuss maybe changing the Roman laws and rules for this individual case or for this specific case. There is this senator's daughter that is kidnapped that is not what she appears to be. And she is a very headstrong individual. She wants to fight against the system, and she also wants to become a senator. Now, having a female senator in this world is extremely ridiculous and laughable, but she doesn't care. She's a really, really strong person and character, and we find that she gets imprisoned because she's kidnapped, and how she gets out of that situation. There is also a big plant monster which Villius finds in a cave, which comes to life and it forms into this humanoid shaped creature and it follows him. I'm pretty sure it fights for him as well, and it transforms itself into a bed when Villius is sleeping. And of course we have all these political figures that are scattered around. I didn't really care about them, to be honest. I'm not really big into politics, but I found them to be interesting. But yeah, could we please move on to the story now? And the laws in this city seem to be written on what is called the 12 tables. So I thought that was a kind of a unique, quirky thing to actually have. And as I said, the legionaries of Rome and all the citizens of Rome are really proud of the city. The city is kind of a character by itself. I would like to see more of the unsavory characters within this town, maybe some of the back streets and how people in this city may not be nice. I would like to see more of a dark, gritty take on that type of side of the city. But I emailed David my thoughts saying that you've created this world, you've created this fictional version of Rome that is a living, breathing area and city with characters that have got personalities and are unique. But you created this whole world in your mind, and that should be something that should never be taken away from you, not by anyone, and certainly not by me. That is a massive achievement, and you should be really, really proud about that. Someone actually read in the book as well that David's wife was a big helper of this book and a big contributor for this book as well. And that was a really nice thing to find out. So what I rated this book was a 2.5 stars out of 5. It was a kind of a middle of the road book for me. But if you like historical fiction, political stories, if you have an interest in the Roman Empire or the history of Rome, then I think that you will appreciate this book more than me. I personally think that you should have an interest in both historical fiction and fantasy. Because I like fantasy more than historical fiction, it kind of unbalanced the scale. You need to enjoy historical fiction and fantasy equally to appreciate this book in its full glory. If you like one more than the other, then it will feel more unbalanced while you actually read it. Again, that's just my opinion. So that is my, I would say little, but this has probably gone on for a bit longer now. If you have stayed with me for all this time, thank you so much. It really means the world to me, and it also means the world to David as well. As I said, please do not hesitate to go in the description and check out all the fantastic links down there as well. I will try to have a bunch of extra stuff down there also. And please do not hesitate to reach out to David. If you're just simply saying hi, he's a really friendly person and he's a really awesome person. So with all that out of the way, have a great day, read some awesome books, and I will see you all in my next video.